Right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this webinar. I'm representing Johnson at Cornell University, really focusing on our MBA programs as well as our leadership opportunities. First of all, I do want to apologize that we are a few minutes late. We were having some technical difficulties, but glad to see you all online as you learn a little bit more about this program. Just to give you a formal introduction, my name is Eddie Asby. I'm one of the Associate Directors of Admissions here at Johnson. I've been with Johnson for a little over 6 years. And within my responsibilities, I work very closely with our team to develop our 1-year and our 2-year MBA class. I had the amazing opportunity of working with amazing candidates and then also our students and our alums. So throughout this presentation, please use that chat feature to ask any questions, but we hope that this information is very helpful. Do want to toss it off to my colleague, Natasha, who will introduce herself.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Natasha. I'm an Associate Director in Leadership Programs. I'm a Johnson 2014 alumna of this program, and after spending 10 years on active duty in the Army, decided to make the transition into higher education. So now I'm back at my home up here in Ithaca. I'm excited about working with our students on a daily basis to help them become the best leaders that they want to become. So looking forward to having the conversation about what we offer as far as our leadership programs and portfolio is concerned, and hope to see some of you here in the next year or so.
All right, great. All right, so I'm going to switch it over just to share our presentation for the morning. So just bear with me just 1 second. Great. All right. All right, so hopefully you all can see our presentation up on the screen. But once again, this presentation really is going to focus on the Cornell MBA, but then leadership excellence and development. Some of the things that we will cover today, as far as our agenda, we will cover the MBA programs overview, really focusing on what I believe makes our program a little bit different than other programs, our Immersion Learning program. We'll talk about the Roosevelt Island campus and the New York City curriculum. Of course, having Natasha here to focus on leadership programs. And then we'll talk about the admissions process, the application overview, and then a profile has looked like from this past year. So here at Johnson, we offer a variety of MBA programs. I'm sure that many of you are most likely looking at our residential programs here in Ithaca, our 1-year MBA program or our 2-year MBA program. Once again, below that, you can see the variety of offerings from our Cornell Tech MBA, a couple executive MBA programs, and then a couple dual degree programs that we offer as well. But with our 1-year and our 2-year MBA program, one of the most important things that you really want to do is really be able to get a good sense of what program makes sense for you. For the 1-year MBA program, it's approximately 70 students in the class, and the 2-year program, 280 students in the classroom. So in the 2-year program, we typically see someone who may be early on in their career. We see career switchers, but that 2-year program is going to give you 2 years of full networking. It's going to give you that opportunity to do an internship, but then also take advantage of the various opportunities, whether it's international opportunities, taking courses amongst other programs here at Cornell, where the 1-year program will also provide you international opportunities and provide you the opportunity to take courses amongst other areas here at Cornell as well. But the 1-year program, typically we see someone who may be advanced in their career, someone who is maybe looking to stay within their career interest or career function. So, really getting a good sense of which program makes sense is going to be very key. For those of you who may not be familiar with Cornell, we are located in Ithaca, New York. Ithaca is located in central New York, which we're about 4 hours north of New York City. We do have an airport here in the area, but once again, it's an amazing college town with so much to offer. Once again, as I talked about, our program and in our agenda, as far as some of the things that we'll talk about, our immersion learning is something that I believe sets us apart. So pretty standard for business schools in that first semester. You are going to do your core courses, your stats, accounting, your finance type courses. But in that spring semester of that first year, we have what we call our immersion learning program. So the immersion is really designed to immerse you into your career function or your career area. So what you're really doing in the immersion is taking, advanced level courses that focuses on your immersion. And on the next slide, we'll talk about the different varieties or the options for the immersions. But you're really getting that hands-on experience. And that's one of the things that I love about Johnson is the fact that we make sure that you have that practical hands-on experience instead of just sitting in the classroom, hearing, over and over or looking at PowerPoint slides. Once again, we have you out there, out in the field, getting your hands, kind of dirty within the work that you're looking to do. You have that, the opportunity to really focus and work with coaches. So business practitioners who are going to give you that feedback, who are going to really, once again, put you under those actual work conditions. So the immersion is really designed to, once again, not only immerse you into that particular area, but it's also designed to prepare you for that summer internship. So especially if you're a career switcher, having experience ahead of time is going to be something that's going to be very key. To give you kind of a sense of the immersions that are offered here at Johnson, once again, here's a variety of different immersions, but we have one that focuses on marketing, corporate finance, strategic operations. There is an immersion that focuses on sustainable global enterprise, digital technology, investment research and asset management, investment banking. We do get asked, is there a consulting immersion? There's not a consulting immersion, but there is a management cases, a practicum that our students will take advantage of. Typically, someone may, for example, do the semester in strategic operations immersion, but with this management cases, once again, from the consulting side. And then the last thing is we do give you the opportunity to customize your immersion. So some of you may be entrepreneurs. Maybe there's a specific function that's very particular. We give you that opportunity to really customize your immersion the way you see best fit. All right. So one of the things I do want to focus on is our Roosevelt Island. Our campuses, our motto is one school, two campuses. So one of the things that, if you're not aware, a couple years ago or a few years ago, Johnson won a bid to create a Cornell Tech MBA campus. The Cornell Tech campus really gives you that opportunity to really be able to bridge the gap between business and the digital economy. So if you really think about it, not everyone can speak the tech language, not everyone can speak the business language, but by taking advantage of our Cornell Tech MBA program, or even taking advantage of a semester there, whether it is in the 1 year or the 2 year MBA class, you have that flexibility of customizing the program, once again, the way you see best fit. To give you kind of an overview of the electives or the options that we have available. So we do offer New York City elective courses. These are weekend elective courses offered in the fall semester. So these courses you would take on Fridays and Saturdays, and you can take 2 classes throughout a weekend to give you kind of a sense of some of the topics that are really the program really focuses on. As you can see, design thinking, designing data products, digital leadership, cryptocurrency, and of course that cryptocurrency is like the hottest thing right now in the area that a lot of people are looking to go into, but then also that cloud computing. So keep in mind, with our program, not only do you have that flexibility, but then also you can have the best of both worlds. You can spend your time here in Ithaca, for that, for a year and a half, let's say, and then take some courses over at Cornell Tech, which we'll also talk about the intensives that we offer. But having the best of both worlds of, understanding the community here in Ithaca, having the flexibility to take classes at our brand new campus on Roosevelt Island, and really being able to connect with professionals, in these areas. Once again, not everyone understands the business language, and not everyone understands the tech side of things. But also we offer a fintech intensive, and also we offer a digital marketing intensive. But to start off with the fintech intensive, as I had mentioned, once again, this is that cryptocurrency, the fintech space itself it's like one of the hot areas right now. And what a better way to do it than at Cornell Tech. So what we offer is through the fintech intensive. It's an opportunity to really immerse you within the fintech industry. And what it is in the spring semester of your second year, you have that opportunity of taking a 7-week course. It's 4 required courses over 7 weeks. Once you complete those 7 weeks, you have the opportunity of either coming back to Ithaca to finish out the rest of the program here with elective courses, or you have that opportunity of spending that full spring semester in New York City. But what the intensive is designed to do is really expose you to startup ideas, to ventures, once again, to the tech application in the financial services field. But once again, really working with those professionals in the industry. As you can see at the bottom, there's some sample coursework, what our students have done and what they're currently doing. My recommendation, of course, as you go throughout this process, is to really stay connected with members of our community. Whether it is Drew Pascarella, who oversees this fintech intensive, whether it's connecting with a current student or an alum who has actually gone through it. This is what we're here for. So make sure that you utilize us as a resource to really put you in touch with the right people. Next is just that digital marketing intensive. And with this intensive, this is also offered in the spring semester of your second year. There's 3 required courses over 7 weeks. Once again, after that 7 weeks, you can come back to Ithaca, or you can finish the rest of that time in New York City. But the digital marketing intensive is really designed to immerse you, whether you're looking to make that transition into more of a brand strategy, that creative side, but then also focusing on big data analytics. And of course, as you can see below, the type of coursework that is offered through this digital marketing intensive. So once again, these are 2 new and exciting opportunities that we have. Once again, the program itself is pretty standard. First semester core courses. Spring semester of that first year is the Immersion Learning program, that summer internship. That second year gives you more of the flexibility to customize your program, but then once again, having the opportunity to spend it in New York City is something that's great. So here's just a brief picture of what our Cornell Tech campus looks like on Roosevelt Island. Not only does the campus itself have your facilities where you will take classes, they also provide housing as an option. So you don't have to, you can pretty much walk across the way from your dorm or to your apartments to where your classrooms are. All right, so once again, that's just a little bit regarding our programs overview. I know that we can talk a lot more about programs, but I do want to talk, pass it off to Natasha as she talks a little bit about leadership at Johnson.
Thanks, Eddie. So I just wanted to take a few minutes to just share with you all what our leadership offerings are here at Johnson. It's great because there's this really great partnership at Johnson between our faculty and our staff around leadership and leadership development. And our goals, all of our goals are in alignment in helping our students become the best leaders that they would like to become in their own way. And so we say that our experience at Johnson serves as this leadership laboratory because we really want to give our students ample opportunities to test the leadership styles. And I'll share with you some examples of how we do that here in the next couple of slides. So a few years ago, we conducted some research to find out what are some proven behaviors of effective leadership. And what we ended up coming up with is our 4 C's leadership framework. And of course, it's 4 C's because it's big C's for Cornell. And sorry about that. So here are the 4 C's and how we approach leadership at Johnson. So when we reflect on these behaviors, what we have our students consider are the following. So under this bucket of competence, will your abilities inspire confidence in the people that are following you? Can you lead diverse teams? Can you think critically and strategically? And do you have the ability to influence others? Character, do you stand on principle? Do you have integrity? Do people view you as someone who is honorable, somebody who has great ethics, somebody who is going to do the right thing even when no one is looking? Under compassion, do you show concern for those who you lead? Do your direct reports see you and do others view you as somebody who cares about people, who cares about the people that you work with and work for, and are you considerate of others? Do you push yourself to consider and take into consideration other people's perspectives and views that may be different than yours? And then finally, courage. Will you stand alone? There are often times where leaders are going to be asked to make tough decisions. And do you have the courage to do what is right, to stand alone, to stand in front and to stand out on principle when pushed into a situation where your courage is questioned? So that's how we view leadership at Johnson. We center our learnings, our workshops, our expeditions around these 4 principles. And so what I want to do is just give you just a brief overview of how we do that throughout our curriculum. So leadership at Johnson starts before you even arrive on campus. So what'll happen if you're an incoming student, we'll send you a Johnson 360 leadership survey. And what we're going to ask you to do is send the survey out to people that worked with you, people that worked for you, and people with whom you worked for. And we're going to have them answer questions around our 4 leadership competencies. So they'll get questions around, is this person an ethical leader? Does this person have they displayed the ability to lead diverse teams? So the more people you send the survey out to, the more meaningful the feedback will be that you receive. So when you arrive on campus and you begin your leading teams practicum and you meet your core team of 4 to 5 other first-year students, you'll have an opportunity to reflect on some of those survey answers and really help you pare down, okay, this area I received a lot of feedback on. Maybe I should really spend some more time learning how to influence others or learning how to have difficult conversations. And some of those things will come out of the survey that you work on prior to arriving on campus, but it'll also give you an opportunity to sit down with your core team of other fellow first-year students and discuss how you guys can work together to help each other kind of work on some of these leadership things that you'd like to improve. So the core team experience will take you through your first semester. So I mentioned a couple slides ago that there is a partnership between our faculty and our staff as it comes to leadership. So in your core curriculum, in your core courses, you'll be asked to lead some deliverables. So for example, you'll have a marketing case competition. Well, one person in your core team will be selected to lead that competition. And then your teammates, your classmates will provide you with feedback on how well you did leading that marketing team case competition. So everyone will have an opportunity to lead throughout that first semester, throughout your core curriculum, and everyone would have an opportunity to receive feedback from those leadership experiences. So that takes you through your first semester and your second semester. That's when you'll run for student organization leadership positions, student council, consulting club president. You'll have an opportunity to step into some of these leadership roles in the spring semester of your first year. You'll also have an opportunity to test out some of your leadership within your immersion because you may have some team project-based deliverables in your immersions as well. So you take what you learned in the summer, you take your first semester, your second semester, and you've received all this feedback on who you are as a leader, and then you'll go off into your internship during the summer and put some of those leadership learnings that you received to test during your internship. So after your internship, you'll come back your second year, you'll have other opportunities to take leadership electives, some workshops, and I'll talk about some of these here in the upcoming slides, but there are also opportunities for some of our students to step into some more in-depth leadership roles. One example is our Johnson Leadership Fellows. So Leadership Fellows are the second-year students who are essentially the coach and the mentor for your first-year core team members. So every core team of 4 to 5 people has one second-year student who is their Johnson Leadership Fellow, who helps coach them through their leadership learnings and their leadership deliverables throughout their first semester at Johnson. Some students elect to interview to become Johnson Board Fellows. We have some great partnerships with nonprofits here in the Ithaca and Tompkins County surrounding areas. And we have 1 or 2 students who sit on nonprofit boards every year. And we have these wonderful partnerships with some of these nonprofits. So it's a really great opportunity for our students to get exposure to volunteer leadership by sitting as a sitting board member. A third is career work group leaders. So after you come back from your internship, and let's say you've spent the summer working in a consulting firm, and you come back and you've decided to accept this offer from this firm, you now have experience working in that firm, what that process looked like going through the first year of applying and interviewing, and now you're going to help serve as a coach for first-year students who are going through that process the year after you. So you get to interview with the Career Management Center, get selected, and then you'll have a cohort of first years who are going in the same career field that you were either in or that you spent your summer in and that you're going back into after you graduate. And then the last is the Park Leadership Fellows, which I'll talk about a little bit more in depth in a couple of slides. So I mentioned that we have a wide range of opportunities to help for our students to apply some of their leadership learnings. We talked about our Johnson 360 assessment. We talked about the core team experience when you're with your classmates working on your deliverables during your core curriculum. There are case competitions that take place throughout both years or during your year if you are attending the one-year program here at Johnson. Some of them are mandatory as part of the courses that you take, but others you can opt in and volunteer to compete in to win prizes, to win the title of winning a specific case competition. And not just here at Johnson, but across other business schools as well. There are multiple case competitions that take place where you can practice some of your leadership learnings as well. And of course, we'll offer some on-site workshops to help supplement some of the classroom learnings that you'll have. And we try to focus our workshops in the key target areas in which our students are looking to have additional development. And this includes simulations as well. So for example, we do a flight school simulation where you and your team have to manage a crisis, and the decisions that you make that you input into the simulation will output some real results that you'll have to respond to. Continuing on some of the opportunities we have, I mentioned that there are club leadership opportunities. We have over 70 organizations that our students participate in. Really great opportunity for you to step into a role of peer leadership and test some of the things that you've been working on in your previous year and that you want to apply to help you get yourself ready to step back out into the corporate world. We offer a really unique offering for our club leaders in that we provide them with one-on-one executive coaching. So we've partnered with an executive coaching firm. So all of our students who are serving in these club leader roles can apply to receive a one-on-one exec coach to help coach them through their leadership learnings while they're serving in these roles. And then I talked briefly about leadership fellows, our second-year coaches who support our first years. We offer some really great expeditions. During winter break, we're taking a team of 14 students to Patagonia, Chile, dropping them off in the middle of nowhere with their supplies, and they have 10 days to backpack through the backwoods to get back to their starting point. In the spring, we're going to take a handful of students down to excuse me, to the MeritBased core base at Quantico, well, they'll have 72 hours of learning what it's like to become a Marine Corps officer, going through that intense training overnight and learning and kind of simulating what military leaders go through and how military leadership is taught. We offer that experience to our students as well. And then, as I mentioned previously, the Park Leadership Fellowship, and I think that Eddie will cover this a little bit too later on, is a full tuition 2-year merit-based scholarship that's offered to between 22 to 24 students annually. This cohort of Park Leader Fellows spends a 3 credits course worth of time really getting in-depth, spending a lot of time reflecting on introspection, really just figuring out who they are as a leader, and using these tools and these workshops to help them discover leadership in a deeper. And not that all students aren't offered these same opportunities. We have, like I said, we have a wide range of leadership offerings within our portfolio for all of our students. But this cohort just spends a little bit more time digging a little bit deeper within their leadership. And then finally, like, we as a leadership office and we, as Johnson as a whole, are fully committed to your leadership development. We offer one-on-one coaching. Students come in and out of our offices every day, whether it's to solve just a one-off problem, or maybe it's to work with us on a monthly basis, a quarterly basis, on an area that they're trying to develop. You'll receive meaningful, constructive feedback on your leadership efforts while you're here. And our goal is really that when you leave Johnson, that you're leaving here a better leader in which you came in, and that you're leaving with a portfolio and a backpack, so to speak, of tools that you can use both in your internship and in your full-time opportunity once you graduate. And I think from here, I'll pass it back over to Eddie so he can kind of cover what next steps look like for you in the admissions process.
Great, thank you, appreciate it. All right, so you've heard a little bit about our programs overview. You've heard about leadership here at Johnson, but I know that many of you are probably looking at, getting your application ready and making sure that you submit the best application process, best application possible. So here is a checklist of all the things that you want to really take into consideration when applying to Johnson itself. So as far as the application fee, there is a $200 application fee if you're applying directly to Johnson. For any current Cornell students who are applying to Johnson for the following year, or as a dual degree student, we do waive that $200 application fee. So that is something that you want to keep in mind for current Cornell students. But once again, $200 application fee. When looking at your application, the first thing that I look at is your resume. I want to know your work experience. I want to get a good sense of the quality of work, the type of companies that you're coming from. But the most important thing that I would say is really kind of more of that career progression, how you've made an impact, what are those accomplishments, what are those achievements throughout that resume. So keep in mind that that's going to be very important. I'd rather see your work experience first, as far as, your achievements and your accomplishments, before I go to the academic side of things. A couple things as far as the resume. For many of you, that resume should be 1 page long, and no longer, unless you have extensive years of work experience. But keep in mind too, think about your background. You may be coming from a technical background. Maybe you're coming from the medical field. Maybe you're military. You have to keep in mind too that you really want to break down your work experience so that we can truly understand it from the admission side. The last thing that you want to do is assume that we understand what you've done, or maybe there's a lot of acronyms in your resume. So keep in mind that the resume is going to be very key to really tell your story on who you are from that professional side of things and the work that you've done. Next, we have your goal statement plus 2 priorities. So your goal statement is, pretty simple. What is your short-term and your long-term goals? And, it is, what is your short-term goal? So it may be investment banking, and for this company, and maybe for a specific industry or function. The goal statement doesn't give you too much of an opportunity to really elaborate further on why you want this. We really want you just to get to the point of what that goal looks like. Next, we have 2 required essays. We have your impact essay, and we have your back of the resume essay. So the back of the resume essay, if you think about the front of your resume, is very straightforward. It's all your professional experience. The back of your resume may focus a little bit more on your personal interests. It could be about your love for travel. It could, be about how you're involved in community organizations. It could be about your family life. There really is no wrong or right or wrong answer to the back of the resume. It's just your opportunity of showing who you are and what makes you unique. The next essay is your impact essay. So the impact essay itself gives you the opportunity to talk about how you see yourself making an impact here in the Johnson community. So this is where I would encourage you to do further research, connect with our students, connect with our alums, come and visit. By learning more about the community, you're going to be able to talk about that experience and put it into this impact essay. So if you're interested in marketing, and maybe it's, what our marketers, partake in, for example, it's Battle of the Brands. You may learn a little bit more about Battle of the Brands, and that might be something that excites you. You may want to talk about that in your impact essay, or maybe it's something specifically, that our consultants are doing. Maybe it's, the trip to Dubai that they do every year. Maybe it is some of the leadership opportunities that Natasha had mentioned before. But once again, using that impact essay and really showing how you're a good fit and doing your due diligence is going to be something very important. And then there's that third essay, which is the optional essay. The optional essay should really consist of things that you really feel that the committee should know, whether it's gaps in your resume, whether it's your academic performance. Maybe you plan on retaking the test again and you're looking for a spot to put that in. So keep that in mind. That's what the required essays or the goal statement looks like. Next, there's a list of activities. I know that some of you in your resume, you list out your activities, but keep in mind, the resume itself has, very valuable real estate on that resume. So keep in mind there's a section for a list of activities. So activities while in college, and then things that you're doing, post your, your undergraduate or graduate educational career. Next, we require 1 letter of recommendation, a second one as an optional. So you really want to make sure that you really think about who is the best person to write that letter of recommendation. We prefer it to be a direct supervisor, but we also understand that you may not be in the position to let your supervisor know that you are considering an MBA. So use your best judgment as far as someone who's going to write the best recommendation, who's going to talk about your work experience, your work ethic, how you lead in different situations. Remind them of the work that you've done, and don't be afraid to ask for a positive recommendation. Believe it or not, I have read recommendations where a candidate or a recommender has said, I do not recommend. I always say that I personally appreciate that because one, they're being honest, but then 2, it does question your judgment as far as your perception on what you feel is your relationship with your recommender. So take your time and get the best recommender who can write the best recommendation for you. Next is your transcript. So of course, any of your undergraduate work. So undergraduate work, even if you took one course during the summer at a community college, maybe it was an online course, we need all those transcripts. And of course, any graduate work as well. When looking at a transcript, of course, we're looking at the institution, we're looking at your major, but more importantly, we're looking at, did you challenge yourself? Did you, what do your grades look like? Are they consistent year over year? Did you increase from your first year all the way to your senior year? Did your grades drop? Are they inconsistent year over year? So those are some of the things that we will look at. If you're for an MBA application, looking at your quantitative work is very key. If you don't come from a quantitative background, some of the things that you want to look at is how are you truly preparing for an MBA? So think about taking courses at a local institution. Think about taking courses, online courses, through maybe an online extension course. Once again, being self-aware and preparing are going to be very key. The GMAT or the GRE, very important for admissions purposes. It does not matter for admissions purposes. Ultimately, you want to do well, give yourself enough time to truly prepare. What I will say about the GMAT and the GRE, depending on your career interests, so if it's investment banking, maybe for some of the top consulting firms out there, they may require a GMAT, but once again, admissions purposes, it does not matter. Next, if English is not your native language, you may be required to take TOEFL or the IELTS. And then the last thing that I would say about the application checklist itself is the interview process. So keep in mind that our interview process is invite only, and ultimately you need to know your story. We want you to be authentic. We want you to be genuine. We want to know why an MBA, why Johnson, why is this the right time to get an MBA? So being able to answer those questions, understanding what makes you unique, are going to be very key. As far as application deadlines, I know that someone had a question about this earlier. Here's a brief overview as far as our application deadlines. If you're applying to the two-year MBA program, there are 4 rounds. We just had our October round. We have a November round on November 15th, January round on January 3rd, and then an April round on April 10th. If you're applying to the one-year MBA program, of course, there's that October round, there's a November 15th round, a January 3rd round, and anyone who's applying for the one-year program, I would recommend applying by January 3rd. Anything after January 3rd, we will be accepting applications on a rolling basis up to March 15th. Keep in mind, our one-year program begins in May. It begins usually the first week in May, and then you graduate the following May. And then the last thing is if anyone's applying via the consortium is an organization that really focuses on the underrepresented population, so underrepresented minorities, towards business education and towards their professional career paths. If you're applying via the consortium, keep in mind there's only 2 dates. Yesterday was our first date, which was October 15th, and then our round 2 is going to be January 5th. Keep in mind, applying via the consortium, you're only focusing on these 2 dates. You're not looking at the Johnson specific dates. To kind of give you a brief overview of what our profile looked like from this past year, our 2-year MBA class, as I mentioned, was 280 versus our 1-year class was actually 69. Our average GMAT in the 2-year class was at 699. Yes, we missed it by 1 point to hit that 700, but of course, the quality of the class is very strong. Whereas you can see from the ranges from our 2-year class is from a 650 to a 740 versus the 1-year program, which the average GMAT was at a 690 and ranging from a 610 to a 730. Once again, the list goes on as far as what our requirements look like. 3.41 average GPA, average years of 5 years of work experience, and then of course our stats of where we are with women, U.S. minorities, and our underrepresented population, as well as our international students and countries represented. So keep in mind, this is just our stats. When looking at candidates, it is a holistic approach that we look at. So you may be looking at 5 years of work experience right here, but it's going to be more about the quality and not the quantity. All right, and we're almost there. I know that questions are coming in, and we will get to that. The last thing that I would like to highlight is is more of our lead events. So it's our Johnson Leadership Exploration and Assessment Days. For anyone who's applying for the Park Fellowship, which the Park Fellowship is only for U.S. citizens. The Park Fellowship is a 2-year full tuition fellowship with that leadership component that Natasha had mentioned. But being invited to our lead event, after the admissions team has done an initial review on your application, we will then send you an invite to attend one of our lead events. For this year, there are 4 lead events. Our first one, which will be approaching at the end of November, we will have, I believe, 2 in February and usually 1 in March. And this is going to give you the opportunity. It's a 2-day event. It's a Thursday, Friday. Thursday is typically from the social side. Friday, you're going to go through some leadership activities in a group setting. You're going to conduct your admissions interview, and then you're going to really focus on some meaningful discussions within these group settings. You will be evaluated by our professional staff and our professional teams from admissions, from leadership programs, from the Office of Diversity and Inclusion, potentially from the Career Management Center, as far as how well you really work within these leadership opportunities. But then also this gives you the opportunity to really engage with our Johnson community. And through the lead event, once again, you're going to go through these activities, these discussions, the admissions interview. After your experience at lead, the committee then decides, 1, if we want to admit you into the program, but then 2, what type of merit scholarship you may receive. So once again, that's something, that's information just regarding our lead events. And then just regarding scholarships, there are merit-based scholarships. They all are based off of the quality of your application. There's the consortium fellowship. Once again, for candidates who are applying via the consortium, it ranges year to year on how many fellowships that we give. But then there's the Forte Fellowship, which supports women in business. There's the Nolan Scholarship, which support our U.S. military. There's the Ramba Fellowship, which supports those who identify as LGBTQ. And then once again, there's that Park Fellowship. And keep in mind, the fellowships itself are all merit-based based off the quality of your application. All right. So thank you so much. I know that we have some time to answer questions. Once again, here is our contact information regarding, our contact information. And of course, if there's any questions that you have, feel free to let us know. I am going to actually stop sharing our screen. We're going to actually come back on camera, but we will spend the time answering the questions that you may have just regarding Johnson. Let's start by answering some of the questions. So one of the questions is, how do I engage with Cornell students, teachers, others for my impact essay? Great question. So one of the things that you can do is, one, on our website, we have a brand new tool where you can actually break it down to identify. So just say, for example, you're interested in connecting with a first-year or one-year MBA candidate versus a 2-year MBA candidate. Maybe there's a specific career interest or an immersion. Maybe there's a specific region of the world. You can actually break it down, and it's going to bring up our students, their picture, along with some brief information, in particular their contact information. They've all signed up to talk with prospective students about their experience. But then also, there are over 70 different clubs and organizations based off of career interests, based off of cultural backgrounds, your professional goals and experiences, where there's also contact information for the officers. So I would encourage you to go that route to really connect with our community on learning more about Johnson. And then once again, keep in mind, Natasha and I are here to answer any questions or even to put you in contact with the necessary people as well. Next question is, how does the New York City intensive works for two-year MBA, for the two-year MBA program? And how can it help a candidate with a career shift into the tech sector? So once again, if you're looking at a two-year MBA program, once again, the first year is pretty standard core courses. Spring semester is going to be the Immersion Learning program. But if you're applying for the two-year MBA program or even for the one-year MBA program, in the spring semester of your second year, you have that opportunity of applying for the FinTech or the digital marketing intensive. Once again, also in the full semester, there are New York City elective courses that you can take on that Friday and that Saturday, and really be able to take advantage of, the Cornell Tech program itself. As far as how it helps candidates, shift within their career, once again, you're going to be taking elective courses or advanced courses in these industries. You're also going to be working with your classmates who are most likely coming from the tech sector. You're going to meet with companies and executives from these industries. There's great workshops and leadership opportunities that you're going to go through, focusing on the tech sector itself. So keep in mind, these are ways that it's going to really help you kind of grow, and as you're looking forward to changing, just within the tech sector. Next question is.
Their difference between the 1 year and the 2 year degree.
So is there a difference? So no, there's as far as being a difference in the degree, no, you're still walking with a general management MBA degree from Cornell. But keep in mind the difference between the 1 year program, the 2 year program. There are some differences. Keep in mind with the 1 year program, you don't have an internship versus the 2 year program where you do have that internship. And being that Natasha is an alum of the program, maybe you can even talk a little bit about, maybe some of the differences you've seen with your classmates with the 1 year and the 2 year program.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. The biggest difference is that opportunity to do that internship in the summer. I think, and I'm not an admissions rep, and Eddie can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think if you're making a career change, that you might be better served to have an opportunity to spend that summer doing that internship. Whereas from my experience, the students who come in the 1 year program are pretty set on who they want to be once they graduate and what field they want to go into, and are very much set in what their goals are. And not that some people don't come and change their mind once they get here and participate in the program, but 1 year students seem to be a little bit more, I'm a little older, I know exactly these skills I need to transition into this space over here, so I only need a year to do that. But if you're looking at wanting to have the experience to get your feet wet into an area, then you might be better off taking advantage of the 2 year program with the internship.
All right. Great. And once again, this is what we're here for. Continue to connect with members of our community to ask those tough questions on, what program makes sense and where you truly are going to be successful. Another question that we have is, will research publications help improve my application, or is it too technical, or is it too technically aspect that I will provide less weight on an MBA application? So with that question, if is it something that is specifically going to help your application out? We like to see a variety in your application. We like to see candidates who have that research. We like to see candidates who have that leadership. Is it something that will make or break a decision? It really depends on the applicant pool. So I think that, the work that you've done, the research that you've done out there, any publications that you have, make sure that you list that. There's a lot of candidates out there that have interesting experiences. And if what you've done, with those publications really pertain to what your goals are, those are things that we're going to want to know. We want to know that you have a clear sense of what your goals are. We want to see what those accomplishments are. When bringing in a class, we want those, once again, from various backgrounds, those who are very accomplished. So make sure that you indicate that. Once again, is that a deciding factor? It could be, once again, it just depends on the overall application itself. But once again, be proud of the work that you've done and make sure that you highlight that. So I hope that helps. Next question, it says, tell us more about the grade non-disclosure and its impact on recruiting. So for those of you that are not familiar, Johnson just moved to, a grade non-disclosure policy where our students do not have to report their grades to recruiters at this time. So this was kind of pretty much an overwhelming majority of our students who were in favor of this. Of course, this is fairly new right now, and a lot of our students are starting to really go through the phase of recruiting right now. So, we've sent this out to recruiters. I don't see us having any pushback on this. But I think that this is, personally, you can speak, Natasha, on an alum's perspective, but I think this is a great thing for our students. Really being able to, get the job, based off of, true qualifications as far as their leadership, their work ethic, and not being, not to stress on those grades, So once again, our students still do extremely well in the academic side of things, but just being able to get an offer purely on, true qualifications are something that I personally think is great. So I'm not sure your thoughts on that as well.
Yeah, I don't really have much to add on it. It's student-led, student-driven, and our students made this decision that this is how they wanted to approach a policy of not disclosing grades, and they'll be able to make that decision when you're. I can appreciate that the students have a say and what they want to disclose to our recruiters. And from my perspective, it seems like it's been received well thus far, and this is our first year, so looking forward to receiving some feedback on that. Absolutely.
So yes, definitely check back as we'll have further information as the year goes on. Another question that we have is, what are the different leadership opportunities? It says similar to Park Fellows for international students.
Yeah, that's a great question. So aside from the Park Leadership Fellowship, our international students can participate in all other leadership workshops. So for example, I mentioned our Johnson Leadership Fellows. A great amount of our international students are, what's the word I'm looking for, nominated to serve as Johnson Leadership Fellows. Our international students here perform just as well as domestic students do, participate in Johnson Leadership Fellows, on the board, Johnson Board Fellows. They're selected to be career work group leaders. So I hope you don't feel as though, as being an international student, that puts you out of being able to receive our leadership offerings. I think with the Park Leadership Fellowship, if I remember correctly, that's the only leadership focused fellowship and leadership opportunity here at Johnson that international students can't participate in, but all other ones that they do, and they have a very strong presence within those different opportunities.
Great. Another question that we have is spent in mandatory military service taken into account for the purposes of minimum work experience? Yes. What we do is we do take into account all mandatory military services. We understand, there may be some, different situations that our military go through. So, any time that you have spent, make sure that you indicate it, even if it is while working on your undergraduate degree, whether it's post-undergrad. But yes, those are things that we will take into consideration. And keep in mind, on every application, we do look at, a little bit differently. If we have any questions, we will reach out just regarding your service. But ultimately, thank you for your service, and thank you for being on this chat. Another question that we have is, can I use a recommender, my former coworker who is a Cornell MBA now, or is it better to have a supervisor? Have a supervisor. Mm-hmm. All right. Even though I'm sure that our current students will write a raving recommendation, make sure that it's a current supervisor. Once again, you may not be in the position to tell your current supervisor, so you may have a former supervisor write that recommendation. As far as the current student, have them send in a letter of endorsement, or even stop by my office or stop by anyone on the admissions team's office to talk about your candidacy. I always say that if they're going to write a recommendation or a letter of endorsement, other than you being a nice person, give us some substance on why they feel that you're a good fit for Johnson. So those are going to be some of the key things. Talk about your leadership, how you're a good fit with the community, and then ultimately, I hope that they are, hopefully, they are, encouraging you to really come and visit campus. So, all right. So I know that there's a ton more questions that are coming through, and unfortunately we don't have enough time to answer all the questions, and once again we do apologize for starting about 10 minutes late, but once again, this is what we're here for. Myself and Natasha, we're here to answer any questions and all questions that you have throughout this application process, put you in touch with the right students or alums as you go through the process. But we do thank you. We thank you for joining us and learning a little bit more about Johnson. Any last words on your end?
No, good luck. Good luck. Get to connect with as many students as you can and ask questions, and come visit us in Ithaca and stop by and see us if you find yourself in. Let us know that you learned a little bit more about Johnson participating in this webinar.
All right. Well, once again, thank you all, and enjoy the rest of your day, evening, or night, wherever you may be. So take care. Thank you.